Strange moments unfold at dawn, moments so quiet that most people walk past them without sensing their importance. A shift in the air, a sudden thought, a gentle pull in the heart. These are signs many never notice, yet they hold the power to redirect an entire path. Today, I want to lead you into that silent space where a message waits, one that may already be touching your life without your awareness. I am Shi Heng Yi. This teaching begins with a simple understanding. Guidance rarely arrives with thunder. It often rests in the pauses between breaths, in the still corners of the morning. Ancient traditions speak of this subtle language, the quiet way the universe, or the divine, communicates. Not through spectacle, but through presence, through stillness, through a signal so soft it can disappear in a single distracted moment. In this journey, you will learn how to sharpen your awareness so your mind becomes steady like resting water. You will understand how the body often senses truth before the mind interprets it. You will discover lesser-known principles held by Shaolin masters, principles that reveal how signs rise through intuition, timing, and inner alignment. More importantly, you will be guided to reconnect with the sign you may have missed this morning or any morning before this one. Stay until the end, because each part builds on the last. By the final moments, you will know how to recognize signals instantly, how to respond with clarity, and how to walk through the day with the quiet confidence of someone who listens deeply. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire. Join this path of awareness and transformation. Subscribe and let us continue awakening the wisdom already living within you. Some truths only reveal themselves when everything inside grows quiet. In the Shaolin path, we say the mind should rest like clear water, still enough to reflect the sky, calm enough to show things exactly as they are. When the surface is undisturbed, even the smallest movement becomes visible. A single leaf touching the water can be noticed. In the same way, a subtle sign from the divine can be recognized the moment it appears. Let me guide you into this understanding. Throughout the day, your mind collects noise. Worries rise like wind. Distractions fall like stones. The rush of responsibilities stirs the surface again and again. With each ripple, your clarity fades. You begin to see life in fragments, never whole. And when clarity disappears, signs become easy to miss, not because they are absent, but because the surface is too disturbed to reflect them. I often tell my students, a message can arrive softly, like a whisper carried across water. If the lake is restless, the whisper vanishes. If it is still, the message reaches you before you even realize that you've started listening. Think of a moment when you felt overwhelmed, when thoughts collided like waves, each one pushing you in a different direction. In that state, even if guidance stood right in front of you, the mind would not hold it. But when you return to stillness, to breath, to awareness, to a single conscious pause, the water settles, the ripples soften, shapes become clear again. This is why I speak of inner calm not as luxury, but necessity. It is the doorway to recognition. It is the medium through which signals travel. When your mind becomes clear water, you no longer chase signs. They simply reveal themselves. To observe the present moment deeply is to step into a space that most people never enter, even though they stand in it every day. Many believe mindfulness means simply being here. But true awareness is far more deliberate. It is the gentle discipline of watching your own inner world without rushing to judge, correct, or escape it. In ancient teachings, the mind is compared to a traveler who moves too quickly to notice the path beneath his feet. He walks through forests, mountains, and streams, yet remembers nothing because his attention is always elsewhere. Mindfulness slows this traveler down. It teaches him to feel the earth under every step, to hear the texture of silence, to witness thoughts rise and fall like passing clouds. When you observe yourself with this kind of care, a channel opens, quiet, subtle, and profoundly honest. Thoughts reveal their roots. Feelings show their true shape. Sensations speak the language of the body, and within this silent conversation, guidance often appears. Sometimes it comes as a soft intuition, a direction that feels right even before you can explain why. Other times, it arrives as a thought that enters like a visitor you didn't expect, but one who carries clarity with them. It may also emerge as a sudden sense of peace, like the air settling after a storm. The sign is rarely loud. It slips in through the spaces you create inside yourself. Deep observation is not passive. It is an act of inner mastery. It requires discipline to stay, to witness, to resist the urge to label every experience as good or bad. This discipline sharpens perception. It teaches you to notice what most overlook. And with each moment of honest awareness, the messages meant for you become easier to recognize, as if life itself is whispering directly into your open, attentive mind. There is a kind of wisdom that only rises in silence, the way stars appear only when the night grows dark enough. Ancient monastic traditions understood this well. Whether in the mountains of China or the quiet halls of Shaolin, practitioners stepped away from the world not to escape it, but to hear it more truthfully. In solitude, the noise of life loosens its grip, and something deeper begins to speak. In the modern world, silence has become rare. Everywhere, something pulls your attention outward. Voices, screens, obligations, worries. Even when the surroundings are quiet, the mind continues its constant chatter, replaying old memories or rehearsing future fears. This inner noise makes it difficult for guidance to reach you. The signals may be there, rising like gentle waves, but they are drowned out by the restless tide of your thoughts. When you choose solitude, even for a few minutes, you are creating space. Space for the breathing to slow. Space for emotions to soften. Space for intuitive signals to surface without being chased away. It is in this space that guidance gathers strength. A single insight can emerge with surprising clarity, as if it had been waiting behind a door you finally opened. Imagine walking through a crowded market. Voices everywhere, movement all around. Now imagine stepping into a quiet courtyard nearby. The shift is immediate. Your senses sharpen, your thoughts arrange themselves. The world becomes easier to understand. Solitude works the same way for the inner world. Regular pauses become acts of discipline. They train the mind to settle and the heart to listen. Each quiet moment strengthens the ability to recognize subtle signals, an inner nudge, a sense of direction, a truth rising from within. In silence, you meet yourself without distraction. And in meeting yourself, you meet the guidance that has been trying to reach you all along. In the Shaolin tradition, the body is not treated as separate from the mind. It is a living text, constantly sending signals about your inner state. Long before a thought becomes clear, or an emotion rises to the surface, the body often reacts first. A tight chest, a heavy stomach, a sudden stiffness in the neck. These are not random sensations. They are messages, small warnings, or quiet confirmations that something within you needs attention. Many people ignore these signs. They push through tension, dismiss fatigue, or silence discomfort with distraction. But ancient practitioners learned to pause and observe. They understood that the body reveals what the mind tries to hide. A decision that feels wrong can show itself as a knot in the muscles. A path that aligns with truth might bring an unexpected sense of lightness. Even the way breath flows, smooth or strained, can reflect whether you are aligned or conflicted. Consider moments when your body reacted before your thoughts caught up. A place that made you uneasy for no clear reason. A person who made your shoulders tighten. A choice that filled you with calm even before you understood why. These responses are not accidents. They are echoes from deeper layers of awareness, layers that communicate through sensation rather than language. Learning to listen requires patience. It is a discipline of slowing down enough to notice the signals you usually move past. You begin to ask gentle questions. Why does this moment tighten my breath? Why does this choice relax my posture? What is my body trying to protect me from? What is it guiding me toward? With time, this sensitivity sharpens. The body becomes a compass, pointing you away from imbalance and toward alignment. As you grow more attuned to these physical messages, your overall awareness deepens. Subtle signs, both internal and external, become easier to recognize. The body speaks softly, but with remarkable honesty. Listening to it is one of the first steps toward true inner mastery. Emotions rise like weather inside the heart, shifting, swirling, passing through in patterns that often seem unpredictable. Many people try to suppress them, fearing that feelings will cloud judgment or lead them astray. But ancient teachings viewed emotions differently. They saw them as signals, not obstacles. Each emotion carries information, a quiet message about the inner landscape you stand upon. Fear, for example, is not always a barrier. Sometimes it is a warning, a subtle reminder to look more carefully before stepping forward. Unease can be a whisper that something is off, even if your mind has not yet identified the reason. Discomfort might point toward misalignment, nudging you away from choices that conflict with your deeper truth. In contrast, emotions like calm, warmth, and openness have their own language. They often arise when you move towards something that resonates with your authentic path. A sense of peace can settle over you like a soft cloth when you are aligned with the right direction. These sensations are not coincidences, they are indicators of inner harmony. Yet emotional intelligence does not mean obeying every feeling. It means recognizing the difference between a messenger and a master. A spiritually mature person observes emotion the way one observes a cloud drifting across the sky, acknowledging its shape, its arrival, its departure, without being carried away by it. This requires discipline. It requires the patience to sit with discomfort long enough to understand it, and the humility to accept pleasant emotions without clinging to them. Think of emotions as travelers knocking on your door. Some bring caution, some bring encouragement. Some stay briefly, others linger. Your task is not to follow each one blindly, but to listen. Ask what the emotion is trying to show you, what truth it wants you to notice. When you read the heart's signals with clarity and steadiness, emotions become guides rather than chains. They illuminate paths you might have overlooked and reveal insights buried beneath the surface of thought. At times, the loudest voice you hear comes not from guidance, but from the ego, demanding, urgent, insistent. It shouts with fear, do this now or lose everything. It clings with pride, you deserve more. It pushes with anxiety, hurry, decide, act. These voices often masquerade as signs, convincing you that their noise is divine urgency, yet more often they lead to confusion, regret, and inner turbulence. Ancient masters knew this well. They recognized that true messages from the deeper self or the divine arrive softly, like a breeze that brushes your skin, not a storm that rattles the trees. Discernment requires the patience to wait, the calm to listen, and the clarity to distinguish between the surface noise and the still whisper beneath. When a thought or urge presses heavily on the mind, a rush to act, a fear-fueled decision, pause. Quiet the mind, breathe, return to inner stillness. In that silence, ask, does this lead to peace? Does this honor kindness? Does it nurture long-term harmony or sow chaos? If the inner response carries weightless calm, not racing adrenaline, you may have touched a whisper of truth. True signs never demand, they invite. They unfold. They align with balance and compassion. They ground you rather than fling you forward in panic. They leave room for reflection, softness, and integrity. The ego's voice, by contrast, agitates. It stirs turmoil, fosters restlessness, and undermines trust in inner knowing. Discernment is not a skill born overnight. It grows slowly, like a tree's deep roots. It is nourished by stillness, mindfulness, and honest self-observation. With repeated practice, the difference between the clamor and the whisper becomes obvious. You learn to walk lightly, to respond with clarity, to choose from a place of rooted calm. In that grounded space, you no longer react to the demands of ego, you align with the quiet wisdom that truly guides. Mastery is not born in a single moment of insight. It grows quietly, like a river carving its path through stone over centuries. One mindful breath, one pause to observe a sign may spark awareness, but it is only the beginning. True sensitivity, the ability to recognize subtle guidance as it arises, emerges through repetition, through consistency, through daily devotion to practice. In the halls of Shaolin, a monk does not strike the bell once and expect enlightenment. He trains each day, even when the body protests, even when the mind drifts. Hands fall into position. Steps follow precise patterns. Movements repeat hundreds of times, not for immediate results, but to build a foundation strong enough to support understanding. Discipline is quiet. Discipline is invisible. Yet over time, it reshapes perception, refines attention, and sharpens intuition. The same principle applies to the mind. Sitting for a few minutes each day, observing breath, listening to sensations, or noticing thoughts may seem insignificant at first. Yet the mind, like a muscle, strengthens through consistent exercise. The subtle currents of intuition begin to surface. Patterns emerge. What once went unnoticed becomes clear. Signs no longer pass in silence, they are recognized, acknowledged, and integrated. Consistency also cultivates patience. It teaches that progress is rarely dramatic, that awareness cannot be forced. By showing up each day, even when motivation is weak, even when the world seems to offer nothing, you honor the process of growth. Small, repeated actions accumulate, and awareness becomes second nature. Over time, the quiet practice transforms perception. A whispered message, a fleeting intuition, a gentle nudge of the heart, all become visible against the calm clarity built through persistent discipline. Daily practice becomes not just habit but a gateway to inner mastery, where the signs of guidance reveal themselves naturally, effortlessly, as part of the rhythm of life. True understanding often arrives when the mind is quiet and the heart is gentle. Humility is the doorway to this awareness. To approach life with humility is not weakness. It is the conscious choice to release expectations, to let go of demands, and to recognize that the universe speaks in its own time, in its own subtle way. Grand gestures or dramatic proofs are rare. Most guidance comes softly, like a leaf drifting on water, a subtle shift in feeling, or a fleeting thought that quietly lingers. Openness is the companion of humility. It is the willingness to be receptive, to listen without filtering or judging, to acknowledge that wisdom may appear in forms we do not immediately understand. Ancient masters taught that the mind, when rigid, blocks messages. When the heart closes, even the clearest sign can pass unnoticed. Only the receptive mind, free from insistence, can recognize the gentle currents of insight. Consider how a child notices the world. Each sound, each gesture, each movement is received fully, without expectation or preconception. That same quality, cultivated in adulthood, becomes a powerful tool for discernment. Surrender does not mean inaction, it means patience, attentiveness, and trust. It is the quiet confidence that when the moment is right, guidance will arrive, even if it is subtle, even if it challenges your assumptions. Spiritual messages are rarely thunder. They are soft nudges, whispers, or fleeting impressions. To recognize them, the mind must be still, and the heart open. By practicing humility and openness daily, one trains the inner self to receive these signals naturally. Over time, the gentle nudges become clear paths. The world reveals itself not through force, but through receptivity, through awareness that life is constantly speaking, waiting for a mind willing to listen and a heart ready to accept. A sign, no matter how clear, remains dormant until met with action. Awareness alone is only half the path. In Shaolin philosophy, knowledge without application is like a sword left in its sheath. Its potential exists, but it cannot protect, cannot transform, cannot fulfill its purpose. Insight must flow into movement, thought into deed, for mastery to truly arise. The moment a signal presents itself, the heart often responds before the mind fully comprehends. A subtle intuition, a sense of misalignment, or a quiet nudge toward change. All these are invitations to act. Even the smallest response carries power. Speaking a single kind word, adjusting a schedule, or redirecting attention toward what matters can shift the current of a day, a week, or a life. The ripple of one conscious choice expands outward, affecting circumstances, relationships, and inner clarity. Action rooted in discernment is different from impulsive reaction. It flows from stillness, from the understanding cultivated through observation, reflection, and inner awareness. Shaolin masters emphasize repetition and discipline in training, not to rush, but to build confidence in movement. Similarly, acting on a sign requires trust in one's cultivated perception, a measured response that honors both guidance and context. Sometimes the act required is simple, almost invisible, but it carries resonance. A realignment of priorities, a pause to listen more deeply, a gentle shift in behavior, these are ways of honoring the message received. Each conscious choice strengthens the connection between inner guidance and daily life. Mastery is born at the intersection of recognition and response. Awareness opens the door, but action walks through it. Without movement, the lesson remains unfulfilled, the guidance unrealized. With each intentional step, the whispers of insight transform into tangible growth, shaping character, deepening wisdom, and allowing the flow of life to align more fully with the inner truth that has been quietly guiding all along. Life itself is a message, spoken not in words, but in experiences, sensations, and the quiet stirrings of the heart. To live as if each moment were a dialogue with the divine is to step into a rhythm where awareness meets attention, and attention meets response. Challenges, joys, ordinary tasks, they all become opportunities to listen, to understand, and to align. Nothing is incidental. Nothing is wasted. In ancient monastic traditions, the day was not measured merely by hours, but by the quality of presence in each action. The rising sun, the way the body moved, the rhythm of breath, all were invitations to engage, to practice, to respond consciously. Each act, no matter how small, was a chance to cultivate harmony between mind, body, and spirit. Life itself became a teacher, and living became a form of devotion. This dialogue follows a simple yet profound rhythm: awareness, reception, respond, growth. First, notice what is happening within and around you. Then receive it fully, without judgment or rush. Next, respond thoughtfully, letting insight guide action. Finally, allow the experience to transform you, shaping understanding, patience, and discernment. With repetition, this cycle becomes natural, almost instinctive, and life flows with the elegance of a practiced art. Every breath carries a message. Every encounter, even the fleeting or difficult ones, speaks if you are willing to listen. Over time, mundane routines, walking, eating, working, speaking, become sacred practices. Each moment becomes layered with meaning, each action imbued with intention. The ordinary transforms into extraordinary simply because it is observed, received, and responded to with care. To live this way is to cultivate mastery over both self and circumstance. It is to recognize that guidance is not limited to rare, dramatic events. It surrounds you constantly, whispering through every sunrise, every pause, every choice. Life becomes not a series of disconnected moments, but a continuous, unfolding conversation with the divine, in which you are both listener and participant, student and teacher, witness and responder. Many miss the signs not because they aren't there, but because life often moves too fast, and the mind too restless to notice them. Constant notifications, endless distractions, and overscheduled days create a fog that dulls perception. Even when we pause, the mind may linger in the past or rush toward the future, leaving the present moment unnoticed. Some expect signs to arrive with drama, lightning bolts, or grand revelations, forgetting that guidance often speaks softly, in whispers, in subtle shifts of feeling or thought. And when the first attempts to listen go unnoticed, discouragement can make us stop trying altogether. Yet every missed signal is not failure. It is an invitation to cultivate stillness, awareness, and patience. The lesson is simple but profound. Life communicates constantly, and the keys to receiving its guidance lie within disciplined attention, quiet reflection, and openness of heart. Begin with small moments. Pause to breathe, notice and listen. Observe your body, your emotions, your thoughts. Respond when intuition nudges you. Over time, what was once easily missed becomes clear, and each day becomes richer, more aligned, and more meaningful. Allow yourself the grace to slow down and practice, to trust that guidance is always present, even in the quietest ways. Life is not a series of missed opportunities. It is a continuous dialogue waiting to be heard. If this message resonates, let it become part of your daily awareness. Take one moment today to pause and listen. And if you found value in this journey, like this video and subscribe to Shaolin Soulfire, where each breath, each step, each choice becomes a path to inner mastery and calm awareness.